Making headlines tonight. Barbados to meet with the IMF for talks about accessing funds from a special trust set up by the fund. Concern about increasing cases of fights around school children. Bridgetown Businesses hoping Christmas shopping will improve. And in sports, Zane Maloney promoted to Formula One reserve driver.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC NewsNight, starting now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Wendy Burke with the CBC NewsNight. The IMF's Executive Board has approved a 36-month arrangement under the Extended Fund Facility and an amount equivalent to about US $113 million. They've also approved an arrangement under the Resilience and Sustainability Facility, the RST, and an amount equivalent to about $189 million US. The IMF Executive Director has strongly commended Barbados on the strong performance under the previous EFF program and has welcomed ambitious reform plans under the new joint arrangement. This development comes as Prime Minister Mia Motley prepares to travel to Washington Monday to advance talks about accessing the funds from that IMF Resilience and Sustainability Trust. That facility was set up to help low-income and vulnerable middle-income countries build resilience to external shock. Prime Minister Motley says Barbados, Rwanda, Bangladesh and Costa Rica are among the first countries to benefit. She says in the absence of adaptation funding, the trust is the best option.
It is 20-year money with a 10.5-year moratorium, allowing us to be able to use the proceeds to build resilience. And for those who say, what do you need? Gary, I'd take them down to 6 men's before they left, Liz, or take them to 6 men's. When we were kids, there were houses on both sides of the road. All right? Now you have only on the land side. And on the beach side, you have some stalls selling food. But the majority of the land there can no longer sustain people as it did for generations before.
Prime Minister Motley's comments came during the 12th Caribbean Conference on Comprehensive Disaster Management organized by the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, SEDEMA. She told those present that SEDEMA has been a success story for the region.
It is a perfect example of partnership at all levels, at the local level, at the national level, at the international level, at the regional level. And I pray that those of us who are here this morning will therefore appreciate that if it is to continue to be equal to the moment and the challenges of the times as we go forward, then it is going to need further institutional strengthening and further financial boosting. And the multi-donor trusts of which we spoke informally in the past has to become a reality if we are to be ready rather than seeking to run with a bowl afterwards, begging for assistance.
Meanwhile, Executive Director Elizabeth Riley says the 5-year strategic plan that will guide the Barbados-based Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency has been approved.
Thank you, Chair. He's given us tremendous support in moving this forward, and we really appreciate it. And at the end of the 5-year period, we want to have a more capable, skilled, and agile SEDEMA, a regional response mechanism which can handle these complex events that we're seeing more and more, increase resilience to disaster events, and also the recovery components, making sure that we're able to recover faster when disaster strikes.
An alarm has been raised about increasing cases of fights involving school-aged children being shared via social media. Acting Chief Probation Officer Denise Agard says her department is very worried about the development. Speaking against the backdrop of a noticeable spike in such videos, she says a comprehensive approach is needed to address the problem.
One of the troubling trends is the increase of fights which have been occurring at some of our school compounds and within the communities. We as a society need to think about the impact that such behavior is having on the victims and the perpetrators. Additionally, What about the witnesses to these violent actions? Although the physical wounds may heal, the mental scars remain an ever-present or prominent aspect of life.
Speaking during an interview with CBC News, the acting chief says she wants to see more parents and guardians getting involved in monitoring their children's activities.
What is of an even greater concern for us at the department is the growing trend of posting these acts of violence on social media. Let us be clear, social media does have its place and can be an excellent tool for knowledge, information sharing, and keeping in touch with friends and loved ones. However, when it is misused and abused to glorify and magnify antisocial behavior, it becomes a weapon of destruction. Parents, I caution you, it is so important that you are aware of your child's online activities. Do your research, communicate with your children, listen to them when they speak, engage them in wholesome conversations, teach them techniques in how to resolve conflict.
With Independence activities out of the way, Christmas shopping has begun. And businesses in Bridgetown are hopeful this Christmas is better than last year's. Crystal Hoyt has that story.
With Christmas Day approaching, commercial activity in the country's capital has increased. And the major players in the city say they're ready for the season.
Here at Bridgetown Duty Free, we're very optimistic for this Christmas season, and we are fully stocked. We have not had any shipment issues. Actually, we're having shipments every week, and we have everything that you're requiring for this Christmas season.
However, logistical issues have impacted other retailers.
We've had some issues this year, as I think most Barbadians know, with increased prices and late deliveries for the logistics. And we haven't been spared. We've had the same problem. We're still waiting on a couple of shipments to arrive. But having said that, we're extremely optimistic. Christmas this year is a Sunday. That works well for retail because it gives us a complete week to maximize going into Christmas itself. So yeah, we're very hopeful all around. I think competition is doing what it needs to do to keep prices in line.
And speaking of competition, over at Woolworth, Managing Director Martin Bryan says the main challenge has been sourcing certain items.
For instance, like decorations. Side decorations, our suppliers have A, gone out of business, or B, they've become so expensive we have not bought certain categories. But we do have decorations, but not as much as we would be accustomed of getting. And saying that, our other departments are fully stocked.
But he notes the current economic situation has resulted in less spending power.
So I realize that inflation is putting a dent in folks' pockets. A lot of these items are discretionary spending because at the end of the day, the supermarket has gone up, as everyone knows, quite a lot.
From a vendor's perspective, the situation is no different.
People are looking at their shopping prices. For me, it is a little slow. Things are not really picked up in this area as fast as last year. It was much better. Plus, I had more products last year to this year.
What are some challenges in terms of getting products?
Some of the places has been closed down where I source my stuff overseas from. So it leaves you having to struggle to find other suppliers.
Overall, businesses in Bridgetown hope to see an even greater increase in commercial activity during the festive season. Crystal Hoyt, CBC News.
Met officials issue a warning to sea bathers. That story and more when we return. Beach users and property owners are being warned about potentially dangerous sea conditions. This as the Met Office issues a small craft and high surf advisory due to above normal sea swells. According to Acting Director of the Barbados Meteorological Services, Brian Murray, swells ranging between 5 and 10 feet are forecast and will produce unsafe sea conditions, particularly along the northern and northwestern coast. Mr. Murray tells CBC News the above normal swells are expected to increase from Friday and persist over the weekend.
All marine operators and beachgoers should note the following possibilities. Expect frequent overtopping of waves onto property and roads in very close proximity to the shoreline. Extensive damage to coastal homes and roads is possible. Some beach erosion is inevitable with most or all beaches submerged completely. possible loss of life or injury. Expect delays in the port due to possible closures or berthing challenges. For more information specific to your area, please visit www.barbadosweather.org or our social media pages.
As government prioritizes areas to meet its 2035 biodiversity conservation goals, a minister wants the country to ensure the environment is preserved through sustainable development for future generations. Minister in the Prime Minister's office, Senator Dr. Chantal Monroe-Knight, says every citizen has a critical role to play. She led off debate on the Barbados National Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan 2020. She also warned against taking the country's biodiversity for granted.
In the context of how we think about our society as being so modern, again, the things that I spoke about, Mr. President, that we value up front as being important and the things that we see as sustaining us, to understand that over half of global GDP is actually dependent on nature. It is dependent on our environment. It is dependent on our biodiversity. More than 1 billion people rely on forest for their livelihoods. And importantly, land and ocean absorb more than half of all carbon emissions as well.
Independent Senator Dr. Charleston Brathwaite wants Barbados to consider products of biodiversity as potential sources of income.
I say this in the context, for example, Mr. Chairman, just recently, Mr. President, I was involved in a project to plant 1 million trees in Barbados. A very noble project, an important initiative, as it sets the stage for Barbados to comply with its international commitments under the Paris Agreement and other international agreements that we have signed. But I think it's important to take it a step further and to recognize that the planting of 1 million trees should be seen as an economic investment that contributes to the development of our country.
A poll has found young people want to be more involved when decisions are being made about climate change. The revelation from founder and executive director of the Ashley Lashley Foundation, Ashley Lashley. In October, the foundation hosted a youth consultation attended by Barbadian students. Ms. Lashley revealed the results of a survey taken by participants.
82% of students who participated believe that more youth ought to be included in the decision-making spaces as it relates to this national issue called climate change. And another 92 also believe that environmental issues like climate change are not taught enough throughout our school systems. Though over 70% of us are aware of the major threats and their impacts on our marine ecosystems, fisheries, agriculture, industries, our livelihood, and our health.
Ms. Lashley believes this highlights a need for organizations and individuals to stop working in silos. She was speaking during the finale of the Eco-Active Youth event, which aimed to get young people involved in tackling two major crises: climate change and non-communicable diseases.
Both the Ashley Lashley Foundation and SPINNY believe it is extremely important for us to tackle and wrestle these public enemies to the ground in a socially relatable manner. So since the inception of this initiative, our teams have visited 21 schools in a 12-week period across our island Barbados, reaching over 4,000 school students, discussing climate change, how we can protect our environment and stay active at the same time. I always say, in order to have healthy people, you must first have a healthy planet. Don't you agree?
Yes. The event was supported by the Ministries of Youth, Sports and Empowerment and Environment and National Beautification. Youth Minister Charles Griffith invited students to pledge their commitment to protecting the environment.
It means that when you're at home and you see the adults in the household dropping paper and refuge all over the place, that you must speak to that. When you go to school, you must impact on your fellow classmates and your friends to ensure that the school environment is clean. And if you can do that, then you will go a long way in helping us to do and to solve the problems that we are creating by littering all over this country and by extension the world. Like I said to you, it is us, the adults, that have caused this, and it is your future that we're impacting, and I'm asking you to be involved in the process and making sure that you have the type of future that you want in this island.
Sports time now with Anne-Marie Burke.
Well, the West Indies assistant coach Roddy Eswick has reiterated the importance of patience in the Windies' approach to the second test, stressing that playing overzealously was not an option. The regional men will be looking to level the series in the second and final test, which bowls off at midnight after suffering a 164-run defeat in the opener in Perth last week.
You're playing the best side in the world. There's no doubt about that. You can't go gun-ho. I know everybody's seeing how England are playing and think that's the way to go. Well, that's the way they want to play. Fine by that. But with us, we want to be as patient as possible. We know we have to be as patient as possible. We're playing the best team in the world, and we just want to grind and fight and stay in the fight for as long as possible. And we did that, but we want to go one step further. You know, it's all about improving and all about learning and getting better. So we've just got to keep fighting and keep scrapping with the Australians.
Live coverage of that match will be on NCTV's ESPN Channel 310, starting at midnight Barbados time. West Indies women fell to their second consecutive defeat to England women as the visitors won the second ODI at the Viv Richards Stadium in Antigua last night. Reported that England women batted first and were bowled out for 260 in 48.1 overs. Player of the match Amy Jones made 70 not out with 8 fours. The Windies in reply were dismissed for 118 off 31.3. Rashada Williams scored a 54 not out, while Lauren Bell took 4 for 33. England women have an unassailable 2-0 lead in the 3-match series, with the final fixture set for Friday. Speaking after the game, the Windies coach Courtney Walt said the batting has been their sore point.
I think we, in both games, haven't batted. I mean, the first game we didn't bowl as well as we could have. Let a lot of chances slip at a crucial point in the game. And England got away and got us where they shouldn't have got in the first game. Second game, I thought we were a lot better with the ball and stuff. We lived on a good ball. I thought it was a good batting track. And for the score that we had them, I thought we would have made a better approach batting. But unfortunately, we lost a couple of early wickets and just never recovered.
Walsh also noted more than ever his team has to really step up their game, especially if the T20 World Cup on the horizon. So the final ODI and subsequent T20 series must be taken seriously.
There's a lot of things at stake. This is the last ODI game we have for some time coming up. We need to try and get some points. We got some points against New Zealand, so we'll have to try to focus everything in this game to try to come out victorious. Not going to be easy, but we have to do that. And then, as you said, to set the tone for the T20. And then it's all T20s up until the World Cup going into it. So momentum is very good, but performances and execution, we have to try and get that better.
The Business Report, brought to you with the compliments of Republic Bank. We're the one for you.
And now for some business. An insurance official is worried about the number of accidents on the nation's roads. Human Resources and Marketing Manager Cheryl Ford of Cooperators General Insurance Company spoke about the issue during a presentation of prizes to the winners in the company's annual Hurricane Preparedness promotion. Ms. Ford thanked Chanel Supermarket and Infinity on the Beach for being part of the promotions. But she told the audience while this has not been a very active hurricane season, there have been a high number of accidents.
I pass about 3 accidents per morning, and I'm coming from St. James. And we here at Cooperators want to encourage all of Barbados, whether they are policyholders or not, to have insurance for the vehicles and to drive safely. We're in a rush, and we're trying to get from here to there in 5 minutes. We leave home late. We're doing all kinds of things in the phone, in the car. We're minding the children. We're paying our makeup. We're eating. We're texting. And we speak against all of that as well here at Cooperators.
Ms. Ford says minor accidents are costly to the industry.
Mainly fender benders. There are lots of fender benders. And you know fender benders tend to end up cost you more because the bumper coming off, nobody don't want to put back on that same bumper. They want a new bumper. So those things are very costly as well. And when you multiply them by 2 and 3, those are tremendous.
Time now for the second half of sports with Anne-Marie.
I have some good news from the primary school level. Bailey's Primary has continued their cricket dominance when they lifted the title of the inaugural Herman Griffith Primary School 6-for-6 softball cricket competition. Playing at Briar Hall, they defeated Eden Lodge by 4 wickets in the final. Bailey sent Eden Lodge into bat with the plan of restricting them to the lowest possible total in the 6 overs. And that breakthrough came very early when opener Nathan Boyce was bowled for a 1 by Stefano Springer with just 6 runs on the board. 3 runs will be added before another wicket was claimed, and a key one, Shaquan Paris bowled by Samuel Smith for 2. Eden Lodge in trouble. Paris very upset. After all, he was the tournament's main runs maker, a total of 340 to go with 13 wickets. So what a bad time not to come to the party. And that left Nasri, Herbert and Zarian Bruce to see the rest of the overs out as Eden Lodge posted 31 for 2. Bailey's now needing 32 for victory. So if the eyes on the target, Bailey set to task. Kimani Innes and Shakira Ali getting things going. But then early trouble in the camp when Innes is bowled by Paris for a 3 off the 5th ball in the 1st over. Eden Lodge looking to strike early. That brought Shaquan Mason to the crease, and he and Ali was settled in. Mason trying to get maximum runs here, but instead managed to run 2. Mason then put a 6 in the mix as the target inched closer and closer. Ali, not to be left out, sneaked in a 4. And why not finish in fine style? Mason ending Nato on 14, Ali unbeaten on 9, and Bailey's are the champions with the 4-wicket win. 3 cheers for the boys from the East.
That's our news. Good night.
Thanks for visiting us. To get more stories like this one, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.